My talk today is on the Republic Day program that takes place every year on Republic Day, January 26, on the Rajpaths, now called Kartavyapaths, that imposing road that connects Rashtrapati Bhavan up there to right up to the memorial of the unknown soldier. Before I come to my subject, I would like to remind my fellow citizens that we became independent as a nation through a unique, non-violent struggle led by Gandhiji. Therefore, unlike many countries, we did not have a war which results in wresting control or independence from the colonial ruler. Right from the 1940s, it was a progression towards independence. It was very clear as daylight, that independence was near, and the contours of the way that transfer of power would take place, that was the subject of discussion. By 1946, the British were really in a hurry to leave India. I'm not going into the details of that. So, even by 1946, the making of the Constitution was already in its initial stages. I believe that B.N. Rao, the constitutional advisor, was already working on the draft of the Constitution. So, from 1947, 15th of August, shall we say, from the time of the very famous tryst with destiny speech of Jawaharlal Nehru on the midnight of 14th August 1947, we were already seized in a very, very real sense of the matter of drafting and completing actually the Constitution of the new Republic. And so it was by the efforts that were made, not all of a sudden, by a progression of labor and effort, we had a Constitution ready for operation on the 26th January 1950. And what happened then was also a very predictable constitutional function, constitutional arrangement. The Governor General C. Rajagopalachari moved, I remember the function, moved from his chair, and Dr. Rajendra Prasad was sworn in as the first president of the Republic of India. The essence of a republic is that the head of state is elected by the people of the country, of the republic. In our case, it is an indirect election. The electorate are the members of parliament and members of the legislature. That's all about it. That now the head of the republic is an elected person. There are many countries in the world who are not republics but continuous democracies. Plenty, number of them. Japan is one, where the emperor is the head of state. Britain is another. Why? A diversity of countries. Sweden, Spain, these are not republics. Because the head of state is a hereditary monarch to whom there is a lot of emotion of the people. They're connected with us, like Japan, connected with the monarch. So, what I am saying is that the republic is a constitutional form or arrangement by which the head of state is elected by the people. It happens that the preamble of the Constitution of India, which borrows its inspiration from the American Constitution and the French Constitution, has some very eloquent and meaningful words which say that we, the people of India, give ourselves this constitution assuring justice, political, economic, and most important of all, social, and all that. So ultimately, it is a reiteration of the people and their wish and aspirations. This being the case, a military parade is most out of place. It is possible that in the first Republic Day, January 26, 1950, those in charge would have thought that a little bit of gravitas, a little bit of ceremony would be in order. There was no parade on the Rajpath. There was a function held in the National Stadium where there was a military parade of sorts. It is also true that the President of India is Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Now, the parade or function was started then, and for some reason that I do not know, it has continued over these years. And when you look back, it was totally out of place on a day where we observe the People's Declaration, the declaration of the people who gave themselves the Constitution. This declaration of people does not mix well with a military parade. That is well known. Only recently, about say 5 or 6 days ago, the incoming President Trump wanted to have a military parade coinciding with his inauguration to add some pomp and glory to that ceremony. The United States military has always been very, very reluctant to mix up what is essentially a military function with anything to do with civil power or civilian functions. So even in this case, they quietly, shall we say, shot down the idea of a military parade, and there it rested. This is only a few days ago. It is very clear that all the Soviet Union style of military parade does not sit well with our republic, which is what I said earlier, a statement in the Constitution of our people giving ourselves the Constitution. I remember the Soviet Union style of military parade, some pictures of Stalin standing there above, very high above the ramparts of something, and reviewing the military parade. He always liked his uniform, Marshal Stalin and all that, and all those things. That also continued during all the time of Khrushchev and all those people. All of these imposing military parades signified signified the power of mainly the ruler, because that was a dictatorship, and a certain hierarchy. And it might have been a show of power to their rival, the United States of America, and also perhaps some show of power to the people of the then Soviet Union. So this display of power and this spectacle does not suit the day when we have the Constitution of the Republic of India starting, the beginning of the Constitution of India. Some committees have really gone into this matter in the Defense Ministry, and there have been discussions at various levels whether, considering the attrition of the heavy tanks and equipment that are transported from various locations and put on those heavy carriers, whether all this attrition of military hardware is worth it after all, because all this comes at a price. It has to be maintained later. Plus the fact that all those regiments or formations that form part of the parade have to be moved from different locations, and they have to go through all this rehearsal and drill, distracting from the normal methods and program of training. These discussions have taken place. Now, 75 years after the Republic, when the Republic is old, 75 years, to continue with this parade, which by all accounts cost a huge amount of money. Statistics are difficult to come by. However, in a 2013 RTI query, Right to Information Act query, there was a very rough figure of 320 crores at that time for this 4-hour spectacle. Now the question of opportunity cost comes before us. Couldn't this money be used for something else? That is a question that looms large. And it is my view that it is time to review this whole military parade. 75 years probably is a good milestone. We become old and wizened. I mean, the Republic has become old and wizened. It is not necessary to have all these things happening. And we might as well consider having such a kind of such a program, if one might call it there, with some military marching in the 100th year of the Republic. That is possible because now we can review this matter. There is a cultural program that goes with it. This is mainly for the Government of India, Babu's servant, Government of India employees. Because they are on either side of Kartavya Path, used to be Rajpath, the changes have taken place. They used to gather in their colors, and that holiday spirit would be there. And they would be there on either side, munching a little bit of, something or the other, and enjoying this whole spectacle in the winter air. All of them colorful because it is cold and they have to have their shawls. The women are all looking pretty happy with all the spectacle. And now I am told there are tickets for it. Earlier there were passes for mostly all the Government of India employees who are in this Delhi, the capital. And now the PIB, Press Information Bureau, who are known for coming out with various kinds of phrases and language excesses in their write-up and their slogans, they have said to witness the cultural diversity of India by some troops, tableaus, and things like that. My mind goes back to Queen Elizabeth, monarch to be, because her father, King George VI, was very ill, and she was taken on a tour of all the colonies under the British Empire. This was long ago. And this was a big extravaganza. The would-be queen visiting the colonies. And in each of those places, in each of those colonies spread out in Africa and Asia, there were all these cultural shows organized, dances and things like that before the Queen. And the body language of all those people was something like this. What is that? What is that? And somebody was explaining to them that this is that. Why are they dressed like that? This is it, and so on. Now, we, the citizens of India, our fellow citizens, sit there and watch with the same colonial attitude all these troops. It is our country, our states. Why should they be paraded like curious oddities before our fellow citizens? I find it deeply insulting, not only to the culture of each of these regional spaces, but also an insult to the intelligence, that you have 75 years after independence, fellow citizens looking at our culture, which should have been our culture by this time, even if they are different, as some kind of oddities to be paraded before them. Each region has its own identity and culture. But in a country like ours, our dear country, after 75 years, all this culture of different regions should also have been assimilated and at least respected as our own, internalized, and not as an external spectacle to be watched with colonial masters' curiosity. All the cultures of our different spaces should have been our own, like the culinary traditions have become all one, like the dosha and the idli and everything else, and the sambar and everything has become Indian, one. So also the culture of different regions at this, after 75 years, being paraded like this as something of an entertainment for our own fellow citizens, who to them this culture should be their own. Why parade them as some kind of a spectacle or oddity? O-D-D-I-T-Y, oddity, something to be seen, a curious thing to be seen. I therefore am of the opinion that the states should refuse to be part of this very great display of humiliation, and should refrain from all this. Culture is not something that has to be displayed once a year as some kind of a show. Culture is something internal which you live with. And in this country of different regions, the culture of different countries should be of different regions. State is, after all, a geographical political arrangement after the ARC, the Administrative Reforms Commission. The culture of Tamil Nadu, for example, goes seamlessly into other regions. And therefore, don't separate culture of Tamil Nadu as something. That boundary and all that is just a creation of Administrative Reforms Commission. So don't separate it by this kind of thing and a board saying Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra Pradesh and things like that. This is stupid and ridiculous. And remember, this is the 75th year. Every culture to some extent has to be our own. and not paraded like this. If there are any things that have to be looked after because it is not live, then the regional authority, the state government will have various institutions to see that they do not become extinct or into history. That they will do. But this parading should all go. It is a humiliation and insult. And of course, an insult to the intelligence of we fellow citizens. So, in summary, I would say that the military parade and this cultural show reminding one of some visiting monarch who sees all these things as oddities should stop. You might ask a question, then what happens to Republic Day? I would say, when our country, our republic does not have to have a separate day to remind ourselves of the value of the republic, a separate day, when we live and breathe and live all the values that we have given ourselves, including social justice, when that day comes, no separate celebration of a day would be necessary. Just imagine a family that lives in harmony, in love, in respect, in caring, and having all the values that are required for a family, remembering also their grandparents and everything. That family, happy family, does not have to have a separate happy family day where they sit together and say, today is the day. They live their family happiness in the family every single day of their lives. In the same way, this country, this republic, when it lives all the values that we have given ourselves in the constitution of this country, particularly social justice and equal opportunity, there would not be the need for this hypocritical separate day for observance of the Republic Day. Every single day of the Republic will be a celebration of the values of the Republic. That day is still far away. And we shall hope that someday this will come true.